So the world has become skippable. DVRs allow us to fast forward through the commercials. When we're watching an event where we're not allowed to fast forward through a commercial, the first thing we do is pick up our phones and stare at them. Or we run to the bathroom. Or sometimes we do those same things at the same time. You do it. When you're watching Netflix, they allow you to skip to the next show immediately because who can wait 5 seconds for the show to load, right? He can't.
It's so true, though.
It is true. Now, the only thing they haven't invented yet is a button to skip people that you don't like, right? So you're at the company Christmas party and Susie from purchasing is blabbing on about something and you're just thinking to yourself, oh, Susie, can I just skip you? And you start pointing like it's trying to skip her. And she's like, why are you pointing at me? And you're like, no, I'm sorry. But we're living in a really crazy world now, and everybody wants to skip everything. You know, my kids, they don't watch TV, they watch YouTube. And on YouTube, they have those 4 to 5 second commercial ads that appear before you watch a video. So the other day, my son comes up to me and he says, hey, Dad, I want to show you this video. So he pulls out his phone, and he's all proud. He's going to show me the video, and he hits play on the video. And about 2 seconds go by, and the ad starts, and he's like, oh, I'm not sitting through this ad. And that's when the dad look goes in. Right? And you just go, and I stare at him, and I start lecturing him. I'm like, you have no idea what it was like back when I was a kid. We used to have to sit and watch the commercials. He's like, take it easy, Dad, take it easy. So yeah, we're living in a world where attention is really hard to keep. And you know, the attention span for people is really tired. Time magazine did a study. And they said that the average attention span of a goldfish was 10 seconds. Now, I don't know how they came up with that. But then they said that the average attention span of a human was less than that. And we all know that that's true. And traditional benefit-based marketing strategies are still the gold standard when it comes to a business. People have a problem, you create a business to solve that problem. The problem is keeping and getting people's attention in today's world. And we have to learn how to become unskippable. So in 2015, I made a really dumb mistake. A mistake that almost cost me my marriage, almost ruined my finances, and ruined my good name in my community. And that dumb mistake was I decided to run for office in the United States of America. But the good that came out of that was that I learned how people think, and I learned how they vote, or in our case, how people buy. I went to thousands and thousands of homes in my neighborhood, and I went door to door. And I went into people's living rooms, I went on their front porches, and I drank a Coca-Cola with them. And I sat down and I talked to them about their fears, their values, and I told them who I was, about my family, my values, my politics. And what I found out was that people don't vote for you because of issues like lowering your taxes and sewer work and things like that. They vote for you because they like you. So when I would leave their home, I would say, can I put a sign in your yard? Now, the whole concept of having a sign in a person's yard with your name on it is just a really big ego boost. So it's literally a sign, a political sign with your name, just spread across, and it's in a person's yard. And a lot of people would say yes. But if I would come back to their home the next day and say, can I put a sign for Coca-Cola in your yard? They would say, you gotta be crazy. I would never do that. But this is how people think. They're willing to support. And when people drive past their home, they see my name in their front yard. And they're saying, I represent this person. I trust this person. So the day of my election, the morning of, I drove to the polls. And I drove past hundreds and hundreds of homes with my name in their front yard. And I knew I had become unskippable. And I won that election. Thank you. Now, you know who else is unskippable? Nike. So who would have thought that an athlete taking a knee would cause such a firestorm and create such a controversy all over the world, right? But that's exactly what happened when Colin Kaepernick did that. And after a period of time, Nike got on board. And Nike signed him to become the face of this campaign. And this created a whole nother level of controversy in the world. And we'll get to the results of what happened with Nike in a little bit. But I want to tell you a story about my friend Frank. So Frank is an investment manager. His job is to get people with millions of dollars to give it to him to manage. Now imagine how difficult that is to get someone to hand you over their nest egg. And Frank said, my marketing isn't working, I'm not getting any clients, and it's not working, I'm not growing my business. I said, Frank, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna set up a blog, and you're gonna talk about your values, your beliefs, your family, and your politics. And Frank was like, you gotta be kidding me, Jim. Everything I've ever been taught in my entire life says, don't talk about politics, religion, values, all these things. I said, Frank, we're gonna do it, don't worry, it's gonna work. So Frank, we set up the blog for Frank, and I said, when you go with clients, don't give them your boring business card, give them your blog. So I didn't hear from Frank for about 2 months. So then Frank calls me, says, let's have lunch. I sit down with lunch for Frank, and he says, Jim, I just want to let you know that yesterday afternoon, I signed on the biggest client I ever had in my life. And he's handing me two multiple 7-figure accounts to handle. And it's the biggest client I ever had. And here's why. He read my blog, he loves me, we share the same beliefs, and he wants to be like my best friend now. And I said, Frank, you're getting the check. So your job is not to appeal to everyone. Your job is to appeal to those who share the same beliefs as you. So is anyone else here sick of all the fighting that's happening in social media right now? I mean, we're really in a polarized world. Come on, everyone's sick of all the fighting that we're seeing right now. You know, it's really funny. There are 7 billion people in the world, and social media has connected us all, and all we've really managed to figure out is that we hate each other. So sometimes intentionally and unintentionally, you can have success when you're trying to be unskippable. Anyone hear of Yeti coolers? So Yeti coolers are very expensive coolers. I think the smallest, the most inexpensive one is $300. Well, the CEO of Yeti coolers woke up one morning to find videos on YouTube of people who were once loyal customers taking them and putting sticks of dynamite in them and blowing them to bits. He also had videos of people who were taking high-powered rifles and shooting up his coolers. Spent years building up this brand, and overnight he thought he was ruined. Now what's really interesting about this, and it became a big media thing, what's really interesting about this is that Yeti's competitors jumped on it and went to the side of all the people who were mad, and their sales grew. And then what's really even more interesting is that all the people who never bought a Yeti before in their life, who agreed with Yeti, went out and bought Yeti products. So unintentionally and intentionally, both of their sales grew because they were essentially just choosing a side because we're living in this crazy polarized world that we're in right now. So there's a big shift happening in all of marketing right now, and it's actually a big disruption. And it's affecting all businesses and brands. And it's called the rise of the belief-driven buyer. And the belief-driven buyer is a consumer who believes that brands need to lead the change and to change and affect the world. 64% in a study by Edelman, in a PR company Edelman did, says that they consider themselves to be belief-driven buyers. And this is really wild, consumers, these belief-driven buyers, now believe that brands, not politicians or governments, can do a better job to solve the world's problems. It's mind-blowing. And they're opening their wallets to products and services who are creating products with a purpose. So back to Nike. The day after the announcement was made that Nike was doing this campaign, the stock dropped a few points, and every pundit in the world said, Nike's done. This is the dumbest thing that Nike could have ever possibly done. Why would they alienate so many people? Then what happened is Nike stock started going up and keep going up and up again. And in fact, it's going to have one of the best years it's ever had. And 2 weeks after that signing, their online sales rose 31%. Nike became unskippable. You become unskippable not by trying to appeal to everyone, but by purposely attracting people who absolutely believe what your brand believes. Thank you very much.